Okay, I'm trying to do something here. So it is. Okay. I'm putting this on Facebook. Turn off my volume. One person watching. Oh, it's lagged. Do it again. I'm hooking it up to Facebook. And then we'll get into the subject. Obviously, my eyes are tired. Only way I know how to do this is just to post it onto my page with a link. I don't know how to connect it directly, and I really don't have a lot of time to try and figure that out right now. So we're just going to do it this way. See if it works. It just has the link. List view. Wonder. No. See, don't know how to hook it onto Facebook so that it goes with live stream. I think people can take their cell phone, do a live on Facebook, and then stream it into YouTube, but you'd probably need an encoder or something for that, right? Anyway, it's on my page. Doesn't show that I'm live, but it's there. So where am I? All right. So get to the guest. What I'm doing is I'm getting into the paperwork. I was crying like a half an hour ago, and I'm like, oh no, take it to the camera and cry on the camera. Maybe people will feel sorry for you. As if anyone's going to feel sorry for you. So anyway, this is why corporations don't like people coming in with a notice of claim with 79 pages. At least. No. Anyway, that much. That much is mine in terms of basically what I wrote the judge regarding what happened to Uncle John. This is all my writing. All that in there. So when I came to court and I filed my notice of claim, it kind of shook the courthouse because nobody's ever done that. That's a lot of paper. So as you go through the court process, what happens here is they have to come in with new stuff. So I have like 3 times this much from Andrew the Dragon. And then he comes in with his separate little things like this. These are case law. Case law that has nothing to do with Uncle John. Absolutely nothing. Court of Appeal for British Columbia. I don't know. This goes back to that motion to have my fees waived. Remember that? Court of Appeal. This is when I went in front of the appeal tried to get that waiver. All right. And Andrew came in with this to get it thrown out of court. And the judge came that close to throwing it out of court, but because I was throwing around federal laws, he said, send it to the cops. But now I'm starting to think the cops are crooked. Seriously, man. Right? Because they're not doing anything about Shimei. Absolutely nothing. And that makes me suspicious. Right? So when I go back to court, I'm going to tell the next judge I'm in front of that I can't trust the cops to investigate what happened to Uncle John correctly. Because if they're not going to investigate correctly as to what happened to Shimei, they're not going to investigate correctly what happened to Uncle John. And that is the way it is. So, just to give you an idea, Teamster Local 155, BC Council of Film Unions, Dungeon Siege Production, and British Columbia Labor Relations Board. How does that have anything to do with Uncle John? Tell me. And then before 3 judges. So this went in front of an appeal judge, this case. And this is what Andrew, one of them, there's 7 of them in there, you can see. 7 different individual case laws that he handed over to the judge when I was told that I couldn't hand over no more than 3 pages. And then when I went time to actually go into court, I was told, no, I don't need to hand in anything. I can't hand in anything because it's just a waiver of fees. And then Andrew showed up with his big books. And then he handed over to the judge this, and the judge was going to throw it out based on whatever the fuck is in here, which has absolutely nothing to do with Uncle John or waivering fees. So I have to write it down and make sure that the Attorney General understands this stuff, right? Because it's that one voice out of 800,000 in the United States of America being drowned out with all these fucking immigrants coming over, taking over the court systems with their backlog of refugee status, seeking asylum, and this and that and everything else, right? So that when real families get injured in the community by these workers that come in from every fucking country under the sun, except your own, you have a recourse to fight back, to protect your family. Because this is what it's about, people, is to protect your family. So anyway. And then from here, you can see what was it? Respond to civil claim. When was the date? March 17th. So this was in the very beginning. This lady she came in as a representative to Andrew. And this is where I was told to write an amendment. And then I initially first had 15 pages, but then he gave me 20 pages. So I did that, people. I took my 169 pages and I condensed them down to 20. 19, actually. I stopped it at 19. And I did a pretty damn good job. Anyway, it goes like that all the way for 20 pages. Then I submitted it the way it was supposed to be done. Initially, they wouldn't take it. I have video on that, people. When I went to court to put the amendment in, because this was my one freebie, I'm going to write it down. Right? I'm going to write it down on a wipeout board, and I'm going to type it down so that when I send it to the Premier's office, it will be clearly shown that I'm being led down the garden path and basically set up to fail through the court system before I even have a chance to present my case, right? Because this was the one freebie I was allowed in terms of an amendment. I had to amend my 169 pages or whatever it was. And there's only a certain way that you can do it. And I'll show you because it's in here. Just to give you an example. When you're amending a notice of claim, you have to go back in. Do you see those lines? Do you see that? That's what you have to do, page by page by page. And then if you are going to change something in writing, I will just give you an example how you do it. Because if you don't do it correctly, they'll be sure to point it out to you. Right? I don't want to lose my spot here, but anyway, just to give you an idea. Where is it? There it is. Did you see how I did that? Can you see? And then when you're ready to submit your amendment, you hand in that as is. But because I was asked to write 20 pages that came in on their own you can read that. I don't know what it says. I haven't read it for a while. You can go back. You can freeze the frame. You can read it. I don't know how clear it's going to be. One day, though, it'll be up online. More than likely. Anyway, because I had to come in with those separate 19 pages to clear up the junk. Wasn't junk. I wanted the judge to understand exactly what he was dealing with. They wanted facts. I gave them facts. They didn't want to hear the facts. So then they asked me to write the facts down to 20 pages, which I did. And then when I went into courthouse to submit the amendment, because that was my one freebie, the, what is it called? The registry personnel argued with me. They refused to take it. They refused to take my 20 pages that was ordered by a master's to do that. Or they refused to take the actual amendment in terms of if you don't do it correctly, it's going to get thrown out of court because you didn't draw your lines through the, the sentence that you want to change, and you didn't write on top exactly what it was that you wanted to say, and then submit that as the original, right? Versus breaking it up into sections. So it caused a lot of conflict, and it made me look stupid, people. Because the registry was arguing with me, that's why. And then they ended up having to call management in, right? Because they weren't giving me, when I asked them to give me that order that judge had done. I don't know, never did get it, people. I don't even know where it's fucking written in the fucking file. I know it was there because it's there. So the point is, by the time we got to, was it the second one? Well, it had to have been the second one. It was the second one. It was the dismissal. By this time, it was a dismissal. They were putting an application in because I only went and judged 3 times, right? And then that judge, that's the one who falsified his own transcript. He asked the lawyer if that was an order from Masters, I think his name was Taylor, or if it was just something that he kind of whimsically just threw on the table and said, give it to me and we'll see what happens. Master Taylor, right? And the lawyer said, no, it was just some whimsical thing, you know, it wasn't an order. That's why when I go back into the courthouse and I try and find that original order with that 20-page amendment, I can't find it. Right? There's something they're not giving me. Because they're trying to play it off like it wasn't an amendment. If they couldn't blow me off at the registry when I was filing it, in terms of you either file the 20 pages and forget the rest, in terms of the original with the lines through it and written on top, which if I wouldn't have submitted that, it wouldn't have been valid in terms of the amendment. So I had to submit that. But because I had to submit that, they wouldn't allow me to submit the 20 pages. And then, so we dickered back and forth. We argued, got management involved, and then they had me sign something under their duress that it was not what they recommended me when I went in front of the judge. They were protecting their ass, in other words, right? That's what happened. And I mean, like, I'm just like, take them both, right? The judge asked for 20 pages. Here's his 20 pages. But when we get to the dismissal, it turned into a little mini trial, right? And, you know, they ignored the 20 pages and treated it like it was just some whim by Master Taylor to just stall for time in terms of, right? Wasn't it, if he wasn't going to take it serious, what was the point of asking for it? That was my one freebie. That was my amendment, and they disregarded my amendment. And then he came in with his case law, right, which is in a different binder. I don't think it's in here, because I think this one here is, do you see? This one is the first one, because the student lawyer came. She was a representative to the Dragon, Andrew. Right? This was dated, can't see, people. Yeah. Made February 20th, 2018. So 1 year after. 1 year after. So I'm trying to piece this together, right? Get it all figured out. So, and then here, it says notice of dismissal, not a trial. They want to dismiss it because they ignored everything that I wrote. Even when I brought it down to 20 pages, they couldn't acknowledge that I even did that. Because if they would have acknowledged it and respected the judge's wishes and treated it as an amendment, right, we would have been in court. Because you can't ignore what I wrote. Honestly, as an honest person, right? And it's not the cop's duty to go out there and find out what happened to Uncle John, when the care of duty, it was with Fraser Health Authority, right? They need to know what happened to Uncle John. And they don't want to know what happened to Uncle John, because they already know what they did to Uncle John, and they're fucking embarrassed, right? And they're trying to cover it up. So this here is what this person read, this lawyer representative. Because you do some stuff through email. I don't like email. I don't use email very much. So anyway, I'm just looking at what this person did here. There's Andrew. He signed it. So now we're getting into this kind of stuff. Right? See, these corporations that live off the taxpayers' tit, they can afford to do paperwork like this. It doesn't mean anything to them. Right? It's a matter of fact, they probably like it. You know, because they're, you know, it's nothing to them. Nothing to them to go off and spend $2,000 in paper and ink, right? So they can fight and fight and fight. Next, before you know it, they'll be coming in 5 fucking boxes of just their shit. Right? Like somebody needs to put a stop and say, no, hold on. This is the one that we're using. We don't need any more. Right? That's okay though, because the taxpayers in this sense, they're going to get their money's worth, because guess where this stuff is going, people? It's going to the freaking premier's office. Thank you very much, Fraser Health Authority. You paid to freaking dig your own fucking grave. How about that? Seriously, man. Seriously, these people expect me to quit? I'm not going to quit, people. I already told you in my previous videos, I am not going to quit. It's not making me well. It's making me sick. I don't feel very well. But you know what? We got a problem in this province and something needs to be done about it, right? So anyway, this is something that I wrote back in the day. If you notice, there's Uncle John's signature. Where is it? Right there. Good old Uncle John, like the good old days. And there's mine. Okay, that's the original signature of Uncle John. So anyway, I wrote 24 pages. I'll let you take a boo on the last page. This was like in 2005 or so. And I sent this to the Parliament buildings, to the different MLAs at the time. This is 2005. I don't know what it says there because I haven't read it in a while. But I was complaining about how basically my landlady at the time, who came from Tamil, India, had a severe mental illness, right? And I was looking after her child for her while I was living there, under the watchful eye of MCFD. And while living there for as long as I did, that woman never got any medical help. Her community abandoned her, people. And she was just, all she had was us, seriously. Her husband had left her there in the basement with the little girl. And the mother was delivering newspapers, but she was a little schizophrenic, right? And just, yeah. So that, and I think a lot of it relating to Sierra. Point is, I addressed it to attention to whom it may all concern. Attorney General Leonard Crong, MLA Nanaimo. This was when the BC Liberal government was in power, so I'm going to make sure the Premier gets a copy of this, right? Uncle John still has a voice, people. Public Safety and Solicitor General Gurdeep Barr, right? Probably a BC Liberal. And then there was, oh God, there's a whole bunch more. Just on and on and on, Senior Health, Catherine, I guess to the whole freaking government. So this is will be list of my documents in terms of, when I finally submit my list of documents, right, that CIBC Bank wants. It goes with both of them. That's why they should really go together, these, and just be done with it, right? But they want to come in with unrelated case law when they can't deter you at the freaking registry, right? Make you feel like a fucking idiot, and then ignore the judge's freaking orders just so that you can remain looking like an idiot, right? I'm like, how do you? And this is what brought me here to this live stream and doing this, because before doing this, and I was already obviously pulling out this crap, right? And I'm like, don't get overwhelmed, right? Don't get overwhelmed, right? Don't. And you got to think like a lawyer. That's all. You just have to start, if they can do it, if these lawyers can do it, well, if they have more than one case, so do you. Why can't you? Right? That's what I'm telling myself, people, right? I've got the one with Fraser Health Authority with Uncle John, CIBC Bank, with Uncle John, right? And obviously with what's going on with Amari, I mean, can't forget about that, right? And then I have to do another one with or without a lawyer for Shimei, right? And then, hold on a minute, I'm not done yet. And then I got my sidekick, right? I'm working on my nonprofit, you know, and nothing's changed. Good morning, Ella. Just talking about the shit that I have to do when it comes to this stuff, right? I pulled out the book today, telling myself don't get overwhelmed, because I'm now putting them into who gets what, right? And I don't have a lot of money. I don't have $500 to go off there and reprint this, right? I need to, though, to protect myself, because if I send this to the premier and I don't have another copy for myself, yeah, right? So I kind of have to like cut off the binding, run them through the machines, rebind them. You know, it's like it just becomes more and more and more paper, right? But this is what lawyers do. They come in with the paper. Like, I didn't realize that if you write 669 pages in a notice of claim, every time you come to court, the lawyer that you're fighting with will come with a new copy of the copy of the copy of the copy. So before you know it, you got like 4 or 5 of these binders sitting there like this. And you're expected to do the same, only you don't have the taxpayers' money to run it through the paper machine like these people do, as they bring in their, again, unrelated case law, right, to distract away from what you're initially there for. And that's why I'm doing these videos, because I want people to see the struggle that I actually go through, right? Because it's like Shimei. I'm crying. I want to cry, people. Today I want to cry. I said, oh, go cry, go cry, go cry, go in front of the camera and cry. And I'm like, no, I never think to, and actually I never stopped to think to see if a lawyer would be sitting here saying, oh my God, I've got all these cases and I just want to go nuts and start crying. Do lawyers do that? This is what I mean. You have to think like a lawyer. You got to remove yourself from it being so personal, because for them, it's nothing. It's taxpayers' money. It means nothing to them. They can come in with 2,000 of these and it wouldn't affect them, right? Your house would come crashing down after the paper started piling up, right? But for you can't do that, right? And because it's so emotional for you, it's different. So anyway, I can't cry, and I can't not just sit here and do anything. So I'm going to have to take on another lawsuit, because even though I've had a doctor advise me to go find a freaking lawyer to help me with Shimei, because that's the only way. And I said, why? Why is that the only way? And he basically said, it's because you're in freaking Canada. In other words, Canada court system is corrupt. That's coming from a doctor saying, yeah, maybe you should go take it to a lawsuit, but if you're going to do it, go get a lawyer, because otherwise you'll never fucking win, because the country itself is corrupt. So the advice is good to some degree, but it's like, between being a rock and a hard spot, and, I guess in what part of hell you want to be in, because if I don't ever do anything, I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for Amari. I don't think it's good for any of my grandchildren. Nobody. I don't think it's good for society. And I sure in hell don't think it's good for me to sit there and fucking fester about what happened to my daughter without any justice from a healthcare perspective. Because there's 2 kinds of justices that we're looking here for. We're looking for the actual respect of a dead body in the healthcare system versus being put on display and mutilated, right? And I don't mean it in a gruesome kind of way in terms of chopping off body parts, but mutilated is mutilated, people. My son doesn't like me using that word. I don't want to get into the gory details right now, but the point is, I'm never going to find a lawyer to help me with that because it's like, okay, I got a lot of paperwork I have to do, which means less time on the computer in terms of watching YouTube videos and all this other shit because my eyes are bothering me, right? Only so much time. So I'm willing to do that in order to get caught up with this stuff, right? But I just want people to understand that this is what you're going to go through if you ever decide to do it. And, that's a personal decision. So if you ever do, yeah, if something happens bad to your family and your loved one or whatever, and you want to fight back and there's no one there to help you because you don't got $100,000 or open book with the taxpayers' freaking bank account, right? Because this is not Andrew paying for this stuff, people. Okay, this is the taxpayers that pay for this stuff, right? To protect the corporation, because if they were really protecting Uncle John, they'd stand up in court and they'd fucking, they take their lumps. They would explain themselves just as much as the one that who did what would explain himself. How is it any different? There's no difference. What's going to happen when the time comes for Shimei? Right? With no lawyer. Well, I'd like to see what kind of case law they're going to come in with when we're talking about embalming dead bodies in a hospital setting, as they're misleading the family to think that the person is alive, when in fact they've already been embalmed. Like, that's the severity of it. Right? Just like Uncle John being put in a freaking hammock, drugged up, and hauled his ass out of there, put in a fucking van, right? Bottom of the fucking ferry. Took him to Victoria General Hospital. He woke up and realized he was gone from his family. And then from that point forward, anything goes with Uncle John until he died. Without his family. Shimei didn't even have her family, for crying out loud. Shimei was in the basement when she died. Her family was sitting right there listening to her fucking dying, not realizing that Shimei was dying. But still no answers. So, we don't have answers, Andrew. We still don't have answers when it comes to Uncle John, because I have to break it up into my head. I don't know who's watching, for what reason. Doesn't matter, because, this shows people a way to fight for themselves at some point in the future. Because if you can't find a lawyer to do it for you, don't let it stop you. Right? Falsified transcript. So now, when I go to court, where is it? This is the last page. This is a falsified transcript, people. So when I go to court, I'm bringing in a tape recorder with me for reference. In light of my hearing problems and my eye problems and the fact that judges falsify their own transcripts. And what's the point of that? Nowhere in there do you see the word yes. Because he took it out. I asked him if I could file another lawsuit. He said yes. I asked him if I could appeal. He said yes. He never went on to explain the rules. He just said yes. So that's why it's important to bring in a recorder. So I'm telling you, if you're going to do this stuff on your own, you you fight to bring in a recorder and to record for your record. Okay. In Ontario, they can easily do that. Out here, it's still up for debate. When I went for the appeal to put that motion of application for waiver of fees, so I thought, when I went up, I first told the judge that I had a recorder and that I wanted to record, right? But I never did record. He never said I couldn't record. I just put it down, said I wanted to record. So you have to make yourself record. And if the judge wants to kick you out because you want to record, then you leave and you go find a way to get back in with the recorder. You fight to get in with the recorder, because if you don't, you're going to get falsified records. And then when I mentioned it to another lawyer, that lawyer asked me if it was an old white guy. And I'm like, well, yeah. And he goes, ha, 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 ha. In other words, there's more than one old white guy that's a judge that's going around falsifying records, transcripts. And remember, they do that to drive you mad so that you give up. But you have to ask yourself, which is the worst hell, right? In terms of no justice, no peace, right? Whether it's relating to Uncle John or whether it's relating to Shimei. All right. So that's really all I wanted to do for now. I just wanted to show you what I'm starting to go through. What is this? Oral reasons for judgment. I think this is the judge's. I don't know if this is a full. This is not a full. This is not a full. What do you call it? Justice or reasons for judgment. Justice Bowden. Just struggling with my eyes. And then if you want a copy of this stuff, you have to pay for it. Whereas their corporation pays for this. Everything that you see that's related to Andrew, this is all Andrew stuff. And there's more. The taxpayers pay for it because they're protecting the patients more than one. Because when we go through Shimei, what we went through with Shimei, it will be the same shit. It will be the same shit. Right? But they'll try and throw that one out because they'll convince themselves that their duty of care was to the patient. Only they won't explain to you how they were looking after the patient because they don't want to be honest about what they did. Right? So then you have to hunt around to get somebody to interpret it for you and type it out and pay for it. If you want a copy, and chances are it will come back falsified. So therefore, this is why you want that recorder. So if you're going to go and start freaking defending yourself, then make sure that you have the right first to be able to record. And if you don't, then you walk out and you request another judge. How about that? That judge is being biased. You don't want a biased judge. Yeah, it's just him. So I will highlight to the premier of this province what kind of people work for him. One pile of many. Okay.